The gym buzzed with the rhythm of treadmill belts, the clatter of weights, and the upbeat thump of modern pop echoing from the ceiling speakers. Familiar members exchanged brief glances of recognition. Smartwatches on their wrists, Louis Vuitton duffels slung casually over designer tracksuits. The atmosphere brimmed with energy, familiarity, and perhaps an unspoken sense of exclusivity shared by those deemed the right kind, until Devon Ellis pushed open the door of Community Fitness Center. A faded gray t-shirt, worn-out basketball shorts, scuffed sneakers. Everything about him radiated a quiet disregard for appearances. Devon didn't smile, didn't nod in greeting. His eyes swept across the room, calm and silent, and in that instant, the gym staggered. Imperceptibly, but undeniably. A pair of arms paused mid-lift. Someone craned their neck to catch his reflection in the mirror. The music still played, yet no one seemed to hear it anymore. He hadn't said a word, hadn't made a move, but already the room had begun writing its own story about him. Near the free weights section, Bradley Whitmore adjusts his pristine Under Armour compression shirt and checks his platinum Apple Watch for the third time in 2 minutes. Next to him, Karen Mitchell stretches in her matching Lululemon set, each piece carefully coordinated to broadcast her status to anyone paying attention. Their eyes follow Devon as he makes his way across the gym floor, their expressions shifting from mild curiosity to thinly veiled disdain. Bradley shakes his head slowly, his voice carrying just loud enough for nearby members to hear. What kind of person even has money for a gym membership looking like that? Karen nods in agreement, her lips pursing in that particular way wealthy women perfect over years of looking down on others. I know, right? This place really needs better screening. Devon continues toward his usual treadmill, his face a mask of calm determination. But Bradley steps into his path, blocking the way with the kind of casual authority that comes from a lifetime of believing the world owes him deference. Excuse me, Bradley says, his tone dripping with false politeness. Do you actually have a membership here? Because this is a private facility, and you don't exactly look like our typical clientele. Every head in the vicinity turns toward them. The morning crowd, mostly early risers trying to beat the rush, suddenly finds their workout routines far less interesting than the confrontation unfolding before them. Devon stops, his jaw tightening almost imperceptibly as he reaches into his pocket with deliberate slowness. The silence stretches like a rubber band about to snap. Devon pulls his membership card from his pocket with the kind of measured patience that speaks to years of practice dealing with exactly this type of situation. The black plastic card looks modest compared to the gold and platinum memberships that Bradley and Karen flash like badges of honor, but it grants the same access to the same facilities. Bradley examines the card with theatrical scrutiny, turning it over in his manicured hands as if searching for signs of forgery. Basic membership, he announces to no one in particular, his voice carrying across the now quiet gym. Well, I suppose that explains the dress code. He hands the card back with the kind of dismissive gesture usually reserved for parking valets. Just so we're clear, basic members don't get access to the VIP section. That's for premium members only. His chest puffs out slightly as he taps his own gold card against his watch. Devon accepts his card back without comment, his expression remaining neutral. I understand the rules, he says simply. I've been following them for 3 years. 3 years? Karen interjects, her voice pitched high with artificial surprise. I've been a premium member here for 5 years, and I've never seen you before. She looks around the gym as if conducting an informal poll. Has anyone else noticed him here before? A few uncertain murmurs ripple through the small crowd, but no one steps forward to defend Devon. The early morning gym crowd consists mostly of professionals trying to fit workouts into busy schedules, and nobody wants to insert themselves into what's clearly becoming an uncomfortable situation. Bradley seizes on the silence like a predator sensing weakness. You know, Karen raises a good point. This gym has a certain standard, a certain clientele. He gestures vaguely at Devon's attire. When people pay premium prices for a premium experience, they expect to be surrounded by others who understand that. I'm not bothering anyone, Devon responds, his voice steady despite the growing tension. I'm just here to work out, but that's just it, Bradley continues, warming to his theme. It's not just about bothering people. It's about maintaining the atmosphere that makes this place special. When someone walks in wearing... He pauses, looking Devon up and down with exaggerated assessment. Well, whatever this is supposed to be, it changes the whole vibe of the place. Karen nods enthusiastically, clearly enjoying her role as Bradley's supporting cast. Exactly. I mean, I pay $200 a month for my membership precisely because this isn't the kind of place where just anyone can walk in. There has to be some standards. Devon begins walking toward the treadmills again, but Bradley's voice follows him. And another thing, the music selection. I noticed last week they started playing more... He searches for the right words. Urban music during peak hours. I wonder if that's connected to changes in the membership demographics. The comment hangs in the air like smoke, its implications clear to everyone present. Devon's shoulders tense slightly, but he continues his measured walk toward the cardio equipment. Behind the front desk, Jenny Martinez watches the scene unfold with growing discomfort. She's only 24 and working part-time to pay for college, but she's seen enough workplace dynamics to recognize bullying when it happens. Jenny wants to intervene, but her manager made it clear during orientation that keeping premium members happy was priority number one. Bradley's gold membership and Karen's platinum status put them in a category that could make her life very difficult if they decided to complain. Still, watching a member get harassed in broad daylight makes her stomach churn. Devon reaches his preferred treadmill and begins his warm-up routine, his movements efficient and practiced. But Bradley isn't finished. He saunters over to the machine next to Devon's, despite having been using the free weights moments earlier. You know, Bradley says as he pretends to adjust the treadmill settings, I've been thinking about talking to management about implementing a dress code. Nothing too strict, just something to maintain the professional atmosphere. He glances sideways at Devon. What do you think? Would that be fair? The question hangs between them like a challenge, and for a moment, Devon's steady rhythm on the treadmill falters. His mind drifts back 15 years to another gym in another city, where a teenage version of himself was escorted out by security for not belonging. The memory burns as fresh as ever. The shame, the anger, the crushing realization that his appearance alone was enough to make him unwelcome in spaces he had every right to occupy. He'd made a promise to himself that day, standing on the sidewalk outside that Detroit fitness center with empty hands and a bruised ego. Never again would he allow someone to make him feel small because of the color of his skin, or the contents of his wallet. Never again would he walk away from a fight he didn't start, but could definitely finish. But finishing fights, Devon learned over the years, required more than anger. It required strategy. I think, Devon says finally, his voice carrying the weight of hard-earned wisdom, that judging people by their clothes instead of their character says more about the judge than the judged. Bradley's laugh comes out harsh and sharp. Oh, we've got a philosopher over here. How enlightened. He increases the speed on his treadmill, clearly trying to establish some sort of dominance through superior athleticism. But let's be practical. This is a business, and businesses succeed by understanding their market. Karen has migrated to the elliptical machine on Devon's other side, effectively boxing him in. Exactly. And markets are about exclusivity. If everyone can afford to be here, then being here doesn't mean anything special anymore. With a sigh, Peter straightens or unstraps. Devon switches off his treadmill and moves toward the free weights, hoping to defuse the situation through simple distance. But Bradley and Karen follow like sharks who've caught the scent of blood in the water. They position themselves at adjacent equipment, their conversation loud enough to ensure Devon and everyone else can hear every word. "I've been reading about this trend," Bradley announces to Karen, but clearly intends for Devon to hear. Gyms in certain neighborhoods having problems with theft, equipment damage, general maintenance issues. Always seems to correlate with changes in the demographic composition. Jenny can't stand it anymore. She approaches the group with her clipboard, trying to look official. "Excuse me, is everything okay over here? I've had some concerns about noise levels and member comfort." Bradley turns to her with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. "Everything's fine, sweetheart. We're just having a friendly conversation about gym policies and community standards." The condescension in his voice makes Jenny's cheeks flush, but she presses on. "Well, if anyone feels uncomfortable or unsafe, they should let management know immediately. We take member concerns very seriously." "Oh, I'll definitely be sharing my concerns with management," Karen says sweetly. "I've already started documenting some patterns I've noticed." She holds up her phone, and Jenny realizes with horror that Karen has been taking pictures and videos. "Ma'am, photography inside the gym is against our privacy policy," Jenny says, her voice shakier than she'd like. Karen's expression turns arctic. "Do you know who I am, honey? I've been a platinum member here longer than you've been alive. I think I understand the policies better than some part-time college kid." The insult hits Jenny like a slap, but before she can respond, Devon speaks up. "She's right about the photography policy. It's clearly posted at the entrance and included in the membership agreement everyone signs." Bradley whirls around, his face flushed with sudden anger. "Nobody asked for your input. Maybe if you spent more time reading your basic membership agreement instead of commenting on policies that don't concern you, you'd understand your place here better." The words crack across the gym like a whip, and suddenly everyone is staring. The pretense of casual conversation has evaporated, replaced by the kind of raw hostility that makes bystanders uncomfortable and witnesses. Devon sets down the weights he'd been preparing to use, his hands clenching slightly at his sides. "My place?" he repeats, his voice dangerously quiet. "You heard me," Bradley says, stepping closer. "Some people understand boundaries and respect for others, and some people think they can just show up anywhere and demand to be treated like they belong." The tension in the air becomes almost physical, like the moments before a thunderstorm, when the very atmosphere seems to vibrate with potential energy. Jenny looks around desperately for her manager, but he won't arrive for another hour. The other gym members have stopped pretending to exercise and are now openly watching the confrontation unfold. Devon takes a deep breath, his grandmother's voice echoing in his memory. "Baby, the strongest man in the room is often the one who knows when not to throw the first punch." But his patience is wearing thin, and Bradley seems determined to push until something breaks. "I think," Devon says carefully, "there might be some misunderstanding about who belongs where." Bradley's laugh is ugly and triumphant. "Oh, I don't think there's any misunderstanding at all." Bradley excuses himself from the confrontation with a smile that promises trouble. He walks toward the men's locker room, his expensive gym bag slung over his shoulder with practiced casualness. Karen continues her workout nearby, her eyes tracking Devon's every movement like a security camera programmed to detect suspicious behavior. 10 minutes later, Bradley emerges from the locker room with his face arranged in an expression of growing concern. He sets his bag down near the water fountain, close to where Devon is performing bench presses, and begins a theatrical search through its contents. "Has anyone seen my phone?" Bradley asks loudly, his voice carrying the kind of projected panic that draws immediate attention. "I had my iPhone Pro Max right here in my bag, and now it's gone." The gym's ambient noise, the whir of treadmills, the clink of weights, the hum of conversation, gradually diminishes as members stop their workouts to focus on the unfolding drama. Bradley's distress appears genuine, his hands shaking slightly as he dumps the contents of his designer bag onto a nearby bench. Karen immediately rushes to his side, her face a mask of concern and outrage. "Are you serious? Someone stole your phone. That's a $1,200 device. I know exactly where I left it," Bradley continues, his voice rising with each word. "It was right here in the side pocket of my bag when I went to change. Now it's gone." He looks around the gym with an expression of betrayal and accusation. "I can't believe this would happen here, of all places." Jenny approaches cautiously, her clipboard clutched against her chest like armor. "Sir, I'm so sorry this happened. Let me call our manager immediately, and we can review the security footage." "Security footage is a great idea," Bradley agrees quickly. Too quickly. "But first, I think we should ask if anyone saw anything suspicious, or if maybe someone picked up my phone by mistake." His eyes land on Devon with the precision of a heat-seeking missile. The implication hangs in the air like smoke, invisible but unmistakable to everyone present. Karen nods eagerly, her earlier hostility toward Devon now reframed as prophetic concern. "That's such a good point, Bradley," Karen says loudly. "I mean, we should definitely check if anyone might have confused it for their own phone. These things happen, right?" Devon sets down his weights and straightens up, his expression calm but his eyes alert. "I haven't seen anyone's phone. I've been focused on my workout." "I'm sure you have," Bradley says, his tone suggesting the exact opposite. "But maybe you could help us out anyway. You know, peace of mind and all that. Would you mind showing us what's in your bag? Just so we can eliminate any possibilities." The request lands like a bomb in the middle of the gym. Several members exchange glances, their discomfort visible in their shifting stances and avoided eye contact. Jenny's face goes pale as she realizes what's happening, and what she's powerless to stop. "That's..." Jenny starts to protest, but Bradley cuts her off with a wave of his hand. "It's completely voluntary, of course," Bradley says, his voice smooth as silk. "I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I just think it would help everyone feel better if we could rule out any misunderstandings." Karen opens her Hermes bag with theatrical flourish, displaying its contents for all to see. "I'm happy to show mine first. We're all adults here, and we all want to help solve this problem." Other members begin reluctantly opening their gym bags, peer pressure and Bradley's implicit accusations making refusal seem suspicious. The atmosphere in the gym has shifted from uncomfortable to toxic, with Devon standing at the center like the accused in a kangaroo court. "I'm not opening my bag," Devon says quietly, his voice cutting through the murmurs of the crowd. Bradley's face lights up with vindicated satisfaction. "Oh, and why is that?" "If you have nothing to hide, what's the problem?" "Because," Devon responds, his patience finally showing cracks, "I don't have to prove my innocence to you or anyone else based on your assumptions about what kind of person I am." The standoff stretches for several heartbeats, tension crackling between them like electricity. Jenny looks around desperately, knowing she should intervene but terrified of the consequences. Then Bradley snaps his fingers, as if suddenly remembering something. "Wait a minute," he says, reaching back into his bag. "Let me check one more time." His hand emerges holding the missing iPhone, its case gleaming under the gym's fluorescent lights. "Oh my God, here it is." It was in the wrong pocket the whole time. Relief should flood the room, but instead, the silence becomes even more oppressive. Everyone understands what just happened, but no one knows how to address it. Bradley's mistake has served its purpose. Devine now stands accused in the court of public opinion, regardless of his actual innocence. "Well," Bradley says with false joviality, "crisis averted. Sorry for the scare, everyone. You know how it is when you lose something expensive." But his eyes remain fixed on Devon, and his smile contains no warmth whatsoever. The damage is done. Whispers follow Devon as he moves through the gym, conversations that stop abruptly when he approaches, glances that linger just a moment too long. Bradley has successfully poisoned the well, transforming Devon from anonymous gym member into suspected thief, without ever making a direct accusation. The false phone theft incident emboldens Bradley like a general who's won his first skirmish and now smells total victory. He begins circling Devon's workout area with the persistence of a shark, offering commentary on every exercise, every movement, every breath Devon takes. "Interesting form on those deadlifts," Bradley announces to no one in particular, his voice carrying across the free weights section. "Not exactly textbook technique, but I suppose everyone has their own style." The criticism is delivered with the kind of false concern that makes it impossible to address directly without seeming defensive. Karen has positioned herself as Bradley's lieutenant in this campaign of harassment, documenting everything with her phone despite Jenny's earlier warnings about photography policies. "I'm just taking some progress photos for my personal trainer," she explains when Jenny approaches again. But the camera angle clearly captures Devon in the background of every shot. "You know," Karen says, loudly enough for half the gym to hear, "I've been thinking about that community Facebook group I admin, the one for neighborhood safety and local business reviews. I think people should know about concerning incidents at the places they frequent." Devon continues his workout with mechanical precision, but those watching carefully can see the slight tightening around his eyes, the way his jaw muscles flex when he thinks no one is looking. Years of corporate training in crisis management war with 15 years of remembered humiliation, creating a tension that threatens to snap at any moment. Bradley escalates his tactics, beginning to follow Devon from station to station like a persistent shadow. When Devon moves to the leg press machine, Bradley settles into the adjacent equipment. When Devon switches to cable rows, Bradley appears at the lat pull-down. The harassment is subtle enough to maintain plausible deniability, but obvious enough to make everyone uncomfortable. "I've been meaning to talk to management about updating the security protocols here," Bradley announces during one of these migrations. "Some gyms require background checks for membership applications. Seems like a reasonable precaution in today's world." The implication hangs heavy in the recycled gym air. Several members exchange uncomfortable glances, but no one challenges Bradley's increasingly aggressive behavior. The morning crowd consists largely of professionals who understand the unspoken rules of confrontation avoidance. Nobody wants to be the person who makes things worse or escalates the situation. Jenny watches from behind the front desk, her hands trembling slightly as she pretends to organize membership files. She knows she should call her manager, but Bradley's platinum membership status and Karen's long-time premium account make her hesitate. In her brief employment history, she's learned that complaints from high-paying customers carry significantly more weight than part-time employee concerns. Devon finishes his set and moves toward the water fountain, but Bradley intercepts him with the casual aggression of someone accustomed to controlling social situations. "Hey, before you go, I wanted to ask you something." Man to man. The phrase carries undertones that make several nearby members stop their workouts entirely. Devon turns to face Bradley, his expression carefully neutral, despite the storm building behind his eyes. "I've been a member here for 8 years, Bradley continues, his voice taking on the tone of reasonable authority. "I've seen this place change, and not always for the better. Property values in this neighborhood have been declining, and I think there's a correlation with the types of people who can now afford memberships here. The racist subtext is no longer subtle. It hangs between them like a neon sign, impossible to ignore or misinterpret." Devon's hands clench at his sides, his breathing becoming slightly deeper as he fights to maintain control. "What exactly are you trying to say?" Devon asks, his voice dangerously quiet. "I think you know exactly what I'm saying," Bradley responds, stepping closer. "This used to be a place where people could work out without worrying about their personal safety or their belongings. Now," he shrugs, with theatrical helplessness. Karen chooses this moment to rejoin the conversation, her phone still recording despite multiple policy violations. I think what Bradley means is that community standards matter. When certain elements start frequenting an establishment, it changes the whole character of the place. The words hit Devon like physical blows, each one carefully chosen to inflict maximum damage while maintaining technical deniability. Around them, the gym has fallen into an uncomfortable silence, broken only by the mechanical sounds of equipment and a subtle shuffle of members trying to position themselves for a better view of the confrontation. Jenny finally abandons her post at the front desk, her conscience overriding her employment fears. "Excuse me, but this is getting way out of hand. Mr. Bradley, I need to ask you to lower your voice and respect other members' right to work out in peace." Bradley turns on her with the full force of his entitlement and rage. "Little girl, do you have any idea who you're talking to? I spend more money in 1 month at this gym than you probably make in 6. I don't think you want to get in the middle of something that doesn't concern you." The threat is unmistakable, and Jenny takes an involuntary step backward. But Devon steps forward, placing himself between Bradley and the young woman, who's tried to defend him. "She's doing her job," Devon says, his voice carrying a new edge that makes several people in the vicinity look up from their workouts. "And she's right. This has gone far enough." Bradley's face flushes with triumph and escalating anger. "Oh, it's gone far enough, has it? You think you can just walk in here, make everyone uncomfortable, probably case the joint for future theft opportunities, and then tell us when we've had enough?" The accusation is now explicit, hanging in the air like a declared war. Devon feels the familiar burning sensation in his chest, the same feeling he experienced as a teenager being ejected from that Detroit gym. The same feeling he's carried through countless boardrooms where he was the only black face in the room. The same feeling that has driven him to prove himself over and over again in a world that questions his right to exist in certain spaces. "You want to call security?" Bradley continues, his voice rising with each word. "You want to call the police? Let's do it. Let's get some official documentation of what's been happening here today." Karen nods enthusiastically, her phone still recording. "Yes, let's get the authorities involved. I have everything documented right here on video. The strange behavior, the defensive attitude when asked simple questions." Devon stands perfectly still in the eye of this brewing storm, his breathing controlled, his expression unreadable. 20 years of corporate experience have taught him that the person who loses their temper first usually loses everything else that matters. But the accumulated weight of a lifetime's worth of similar encounters presses down on him like a physical force. The gym has become an arena now, with Devon standing alone in the center, while Bradley and Karen circle like predators who sense wounded prey. Other members watch from what they consider safe distances, their uncomfortable silence serving as tacit approval for the harassment unfolding before them. "You know what?" Bradley says, pulling out his own phone with theatrical decisiveness. "I'm calling the owner, right now. Let's see what Mr. Johnson has to say about the kind of people who've been frequenting his establishment lately." Karen's fingers dance across her phone screen with the enthusiasm of someone who believes they're about to witness ultimate vindication. "I have Mr. Johnson's personal number," she announces proudly. "He and my husband do business together, commercial real estate investments. He'll want to know about this situation immediately." Bradley nods approvingly, crossing his arms as he positions himself like a prosecutor preparing to deliver closing arguments. "Perfect. Let's get the owner down here to sort this out once and for all. I'm sure he'll be very interested to hear about the safety concerns his premium members are experiencing." Devon remains motionless, his expression unreadable, as Karen dials the number with theatrical precision. She activates the speaker function with a flourish, ensuring everyone in the vicinity can hear the conversation that will supposedly vindicate her position and expose Devon as the dangerous interloper she believes him to be. The phone rings twice before a familiar voice answers. "Karen, this is unexpected. What can I do for you this morning?" "Mr. Johnson, I'm so sorry to bother you, but we have a serious situation at the gym that requires your immediate attention. Karen's voice takes on the tone of someone reporting a national emergency. There's been some very concerning behavior from one of the members, and several of us feel unsafe. A pause stretches across the connection, filled with the subtle sounds of a busy office in the background. I see. Can you describe the situation for me? Well, Karen begins, warming to her theme. There's this individual who's been acting suspiciously all morning. He doesn't fit the profile of our usual membership, and there was an incident with a missing phone that was very concerning. Several premium members are worried about theft and general safety issues. Bradley leans toward the phone, adding his authoritative voice to the complaint. Mr. Johnson, this is Bradley Whitmore. I've been a gold member for 8 years, and I've never experienced anything like this. The individual in question has been defensive and aggressive when asked reasonable questions about gym policies and membership verification. Another pause, longer this time. When Mr. Johnson speaks again, his voice carries a different tone, sharper, more focused. Can you describe this individual for me? I want to make sure I understand exactly who we're discussing. Karen exchanges a triumphant glance with Bradley before responding. He's a tall, black man, wearing a gray t-shirt and basketball shorts. Very casual dress, not what you'd expect from someone who belongs in a facility like this. The silence that follows stretches so long that Karen checks her phone to ensure the call hasn't disconnected. When Mr. Johnson finally speaks, his voice carries an edge that makes several people unconsciously step closer to hear better. Let me make sure I understand this correctly. You're calling to complain about a tall, black gentleman in workout clothes exercising at a gym? Well, when you put it like that, it sounds... Karen begins, but Mr. Johnson cuts her off. Put him on the phone. The command hangs in the air like thunder before lightning. Karen's confident expression begins to falter as she realizes the conversation isn't proceeding according to her script. I'm sorry, what? The gentleman you're complaining about. I want to speak with him directly. Bradley steps forward, his face showing the first signs of genuine concern. Mr. Johnson, I don't think that's necessary. We just need you to address the security protocols and membership standards. Put him on the phone now. The authority in Mr. Johnson's voice brooks no argument. Karen holds out the device toward Devon with shaking hands, her earlier confidence evaporating like morning mist. Devon accepts the phone with the same calm demeanor he's maintained throughout the entire ordeal. Hello, James. The familiar tone in Devon's voice sends a visible shock through the assembled crowd. Bradley's face goes pale as the implications of that casual greeting begin to register. Karen stumbles backward, as if she's been physically struck. Devon! The relief and warmth in Mr. Johnson's voice carry clearly through the speaker. What in God's name is happening down there? Someone is actually complaining about you? Devon's expression doesn't change, but those watching carefully can see the slight tightening around his eyes that suggests suppressed emotion. Just a misunderstanding about membership policies and who belongs where. Put me on speaker, Devon. I want everyone to hear this. Devon touches the speaker button, and Mr. Johnson's voice fills the suddenly silent gym with crystal clarity. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Devon Ellis. He's not just a member of this gym, he's the owner. The words hit the assembled crowd like a physical force. Several people audibly gasp. Bradley staggers as if he's been punched. Karen's phone slips from her nerveless fingers, clattering to the floor with a sound that seems unnaturally loud in the stunned silence, after the dozen or so people stood in wrap and stare. Mr. Johnson continues, his voice gaining strength and authority with each word. Devon bought this facility 2 years ago when the previous owner was planning to close it down. He could have demolished it and built luxury condos or converted it into an exclusive private club. Instead, He chose to keep it as a community gym accessible to people from all economic backgrounds. Jenny's eyes widen as pieces of a puzzle she didn't know existed suddenly click into place. She remembers seeing Devon in business suits early in the mornings, talking to contractors and maintenance staff. But he always changed into workout clothes before exercising. She'd assumed he was some kind of facility inspector or consultant. Furthermore, Mr. Johnson's voice grows harder. Devon has been personally funding the scholarship program that provides free memberships to underprivileged youth in this neighborhood. The new equipment you've been enjoying? That's Devon. The upgraded locker rooms and expanded hours? Also Devon. The free personal training sessions for senior citizens? All Devon. Bradley appears to be having difficulty breathing. His earlier confidence has completely evaporated, replaced by the growing horror of someone who realizes they've made a catastrophic error in judgment. Karen retrieves her phone from the floor with trembling hands, her face cycling through emotions, like a broken traffic light. "I'm looking at our security footage right now," Mr. Johnson continues, his voice taking on a prosecutorial tone. "I can see everything that's happened this morning. The harassment, the implicit accusations, the photography violations, the deliberate intimidation tactics. This is exactly the kind of behavior that Devon kept this gym open to combat." Devon finally speaks, his voice carrying the quiet authority of someone who has just been revealed as holding all the cards. "James, it's fine. Everyone can make mistakes when they don't have all the information. No, Devon, this is not fine. This is the opposite of fine. This is unacceptable behavior that violates every principle this gym was designed to represent. The revelation has created a vacuum in the gym's atmosphere, as if all the oxygen has been sucked out of the room. Other members who witnessed the harassment look ashamed of their inaction. Those who participated in the hostile atmosphere appear to be calculating the potential consequences of their behavior. Devon looks around the assembled crowd, his gaze settling briefly on each person who watched him being humiliated and chose to remain silent. When he speaks, his voice carries the weight of hard-earned wisdom and carefully controlled emotion. "The reason I dress like this," Devon says quietly, "is because I come here to work out, not to impress anyone. I believe people should be judged by their character and actions, not by their clothing or their skin color or the size of their bank account." Bradley attempts to salvage the unsalvageable, his voice cracking with desperation as the full magnitude of his mistake becomes clear. "Mr. Ellis, I had no idea. This is all just a terrible misunderstanding. I never meant to imply anything inappropriate." But Devon's expression remains impassive, unmoved by Bradley's sudden shift from aggressor to supplicant. "You meant exactly what you said. The only thing that's changed is that you now know who you were saying it to." Karen frantically tries to delete the videos from her phone, her fingers flying across the screen in panic. But Jenny, who has found her courage in the aftermath of the revelation, steps forward with her own device. "I've been recording everything too," she announces quietly, "for documentation purposes. Everything that happened here is preserved." The admission hits Karen like a slap. Her platinum membership, her social status, her carefully cultivated image of respectability, all of it crumbles in the face of documented evidence of her discriminatory behavior. "Please," she whispers, "I have children. I have a reputation in this community." Devon turned to face her fully, his gaze steady and unforgiving. "You should have thought about your children and your reputation before you decided to harass someone based on the color of their skin." Other gym members begin approaching Devon with awkward apologies, their shame visible in their downcast eyes and stammering words. "We should have said something. We knew it was wrong. We're sorry we didn't stand up for you." The litany of regret fills the air, but Devon accepts each apology with the same measured grace that characterized his response to the original harassment. Bradley's desperation reaches new heights as he realizes the potential consequences of his actions. Please, Mr. Ellis. I've been a member here for 8 years. This gym is part of my daily routine, my social circle. Surely we can work something out. 8 years, Devon repeats thoughtfully. 8 years of membership, and this is how you choose to treat someone you've never seen before. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. Mr. Johnson's voice crackles through the phone speaker, which Devon still holds in his hand. Bradley, your membership is terminated immediately. Karen, you're suspended pending a full review of this incident. I want both of you off the property within the next 10 minutes. The pronouncement hits like a gavel in a courtroom. Bradley's face cycles through disbelief, anger, and bargaining as he processes the destruction of his carefully ordered world. You can't do this. I have contracts, commitments. I've invested thousands of dollars in this membership. Your contracts include clauses about harassment and discriminatory behavior. Mr. Johnson responds coldly. You violated those terms in the most egregious way possible. Consider yourself fortunate that we're not pursuing legal action. Karen begins crying, the tears streaming down her face as the reality of her situation becomes clear. Her social media documentation of the incident, intended to shame and expose Devon, has instead created a permanent record of her own prejudice and cruelty. My husband is going to kill me, she sobs. This could ruin his business relationships. Devon feels no satisfaction in their downfall, only a weary recognition of how predictable this moment was from the very beginning. This is what happens when you assume you know someone's story based on their appearance, he says quietly. You decided I didn't belong here without knowing anything about me except what I looked like. The other gym members watch in fascinated horror as Bradley and Karen gather their belongings with the desperate haste of people fleeing a natural disaster. The expensive equipment, the designer clothes, the status symbols that seemed so important an hour ago now appear pathetic and meaningless in the face of their moral bankruptcy. Jenny approaches Devon with her clipboard, her young face serious with newfound understanding. Mr. Ellis, I want to apologize for not acting sooner. I was afraid for my job, but that's no excuse for letting this happen. Devon's expression softens as he looks at the young woman who ultimately found the courage to stand up for what was right. You did act, Jenny. When it mattered most, you chose the right side. That takes real strength. As Bradley and Karen make their walk of shame toward the exit, other members begin sharing stories they'd never spoken aloud before. Tales of Devon helping with equipment problems, quietly paying for maintenance issues, providing scholarships for kids who couldn't afford memberships. The picture that emerges is of a man who used his success to lift others up rather than exclude them. The transformation in the gym's atmosphere is palpable. What began as a space corrupted by prejudice and mob mentality has become something else entirely. A community forced to confront its own biases and failures. Devon has achieved something far more valuable than simple revenge. He's created an opportunity for genuine growth and change. Devon sets the phone down on a nearby bench and addresses the assembled crowd with the kind of quiet authority that comes from years of leadership experience and hard-won wisdom. The gym has become unnaturally quiet, as if everyone present understands they're witnessing something significant. What happened here today isn't unusual, Devon begins, his voice carrying clearly across the space. It happens to people who look like me every single day, in gyms, restaurants, stores, corporate offices, and countless other places. The only difference is that today I had the privilege of revealing my position. Most people don't have that luxury. He pauses, allowing the weight of his words to settle over the crowd. Several members shift uncomfortably, recognizing uncomfortable truths in his statement. Jenny continues to hold her phone, documenting this moment for very different reasons than Karen's earlier recordings. Real strength, Devon continues, isn't measured by how much weight you can lift or how much money you have in your bank account. It's measured by how you treat people when you think they can't fight back. It's measured by what you do when you have power over someone who appears powerless. His gaze moves across the faces in the crowd, noting those who met his eyes and those who couldn't. I don't want anyone here to feel guilty about making assumptions. We all do it, it's human nature. But I want you to remember this feeling, this discomfort you're experiencing right now when you realize you were wrong about someone. Use that feeling as a check against your biases next time. Devon walks toward the water fountain, his movements deliberate and measured. This gym exists to build community, physical strength, mental strength, and moral strength. Today we all have an opportunity to grow stronger by learning from this experience. He turns back toward Bradley and Karen, who are still gathering their belongings with the desperate haste of people trying to escape the scene of an accident. I want both of you to understand something. I don't take any pleasure in your embarrassment or the consequences you're facing. I hope you'll use this experience to examine why you made the assumptions you did and how you can avoid hurting other people in the future. The magnanimity in his response only serves to highlight the pettiness and cruelty of their earlier behavior. Several members nod in recognition of the grace Devon is showing, even in the face of explicit discrimination and harassment. To everyone else, Devon says, his voice taking on a warmer tone, I want you to know that this gym will always welcome people regardless of what they wear, where they come from, or what they look like. That's not changing, regardless of what happened here today. Jenny steps forward, her young face serious with newfound resolve. Mr. Ellis, I want you to know that this won't happen again. Not on my watch. Devon smiles at her, the first genuine smile he's shown all morning. I believe you, Jenny. And I want you to know that standing up for what's right, even when it's difficult, is exactly the kind of leadership this place needs. He picks up his gym bag, the same modest black bag that had seemed so insignificant compared to Bradley's designer luggage. I'll be back tomorrow at 6 a.m., same as always. Anyone who wants to work out, anyone at all, is welcome to join me. The message resonates through the gym like ripples in a pond. Devon has transformed a moment of ugliness into an opportunity for education and growth. He's demonstrated that true power lies not in domination or exclusion, but in inclusion and the elevation of others. As he heads toward the exit, the gym feels fundamentally different than it did when he arrived. The same equipment occupies the same spaces, but the community that uses it has been forever changed by witnessing what happens when prejudice meets its match, in grace, wisdom, and quiet strength. And next time you witness someone being judged by their appearance rather than their character, remember Devon Ellis. Remember that you never truly know who you're dealing with. And more importantly, remember that it shouldn't matter whether they're a CEO or a janitor. Whether they drive a luxury car or take the bus, whether they wear designer clothes or shop at thrift stores. Every person deserves to be treated with basic human dignity and respect. Every person has a story you don't know, experiences you haven't lived, and challenges you can't imagine. The clothes someone wears to the gym, the car they drive to work, the neighborhood they live in, none of these things tell you anything meaningful about their worth as a human being. Be like Jenny. Find your courage when others need your voice. Don't wait for someone with more authority or more confidence to step up first. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is simply refuse to be a silent witness to injustice. And for those who think they can judge a book by its cover, who believe their assumptions about others are justified by surface appearances, who feel entitled to decide who belongs where based on their own prejudices, well, you might just discover that you're standing in front of the author. What biases are you carrying? What assumptions do you make about people based on how they look, how they dress, or how they speak? The gym isn't the only place where we need to work out. Our prejudices need exercise too. Stand up for justice. Challenge your assumptions. Treat others the way you'd want to be treated if you were the one being judged unfairly. Because in the end, The strongest person in any room is often the one who lifts others up instead of tearing them down. The next time you see someone who doesn't look like they belong in a particular space, ask yourself, who gets to decide who belongs where? And what gives anyone the right to make that decision for someone else? Remember Devon Ellis. Remember that true power isn't about what you can take away from others. It's about what you choose to give.